CCU Orlando, Natural Awakenings Magazine, and Unity of Nashville present The Authentic Spiritual Journey, a weekly show featuring real and practical spiritual conversations from diverse perspectives here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. Today, episode 55, You Feel Comfortable in the Unknown, 7 Signs of an Evolving Soul, Part 7. And now, your host, Reverend Cynthia Alice Anderson.
Hello and welcome to the show. My name is Reverend Cynthia Alice, and I lovingly go by RCA. That I'm really working on claiming that. I don't know, it just feels big and bold to claim RCA. But we are here recording The Authentic Spiritual Journey in 818 Studios, and we have several guests with us. But of course, first of all, we always have to give a nod to our fabulous producer.
Hey, I am Dave Croft. What is happening, everybody? Thank you so much for joining us for today's episode.
Yes, and we have a mini studio audience today because we're doing some other recording as well. I even had help with wardrobe. I felt like a superstar.
Yeah, we had a lint roller and everything going on.
I know, making sure I looked good, even though I look good for the podcast. I look good for no one to see me.
Yeah, you have a face for radio.
I have a face for radio, exactly. Hey, what do you mean? I guess I didn't learn my lesson from the last show about vulnerability. So I'm going to read all 7, then we're going to get right in.
But first, we've got to give our country shout out.
I forgot. Okay.
This week we are giving a shout out to our listeners from the Republic of Korea.
Yeah, so from Korea, and I have a buddy over there, another one of my guy friends. A shout out to you, Dare. I love you. I bless you, man. And that beautiful wife of yours, I feel so honored that I married you both and that you are there listening and doing your spiritual work. So I bless you and all of your friends. And I'm sure there are people I don't know listening, but I had to shout out to my one friend who's there. And I bless you on the journey and so grateful for your presence in my life. So we're always honored when people like halfway across the world are listening.
And I know the internet's like really old by now, and it still boggles my mind. I'm still of the generation where the internet still impresses me on some level.
Yes, me too. That just over a year ago, we started this with a couple people and some strong support, and we are all over the world. I don't know if you have exact numbers.
Yeah, we are closing in on 21,000 downloads. 20,819.
What, we passed 20?
Yes. Yep.
Wow, we passed 20,000. Thank you, friends. And how many countries?
I don't have the count of countries.
All right.
I can count them for you.
No, that's all right. But, we know we're over 30, though. If
Absolutely.
we're up to 21,000 downloads and counting. The other thing I want to mention, friends, is the, daily now we have a new program. The affirmations are coming out. They're only 1 minute long, and I want to really encourage you to listen to those. Those are such a powerful uplift for me, and I'm the one who recorded them with Dave. And that music as well is so touches the heart and soul. So when we recorded those, we really just go into meditation and I record them. And what I can tell you as the person who records them is later, I don't even remember what they are. Mm-hmm. But then as they come through the feed daily, I listen to them rather, and they lift me up greatly on my own journey. So I want to encourage you to listen to those and let them inform your journey and share them with a friend, because the more people that are holding to these spiritual thoughts and ideas, the better.
Yeah, and we're mixing up the meditations as well.
Yep.
We'll still put some of the meditations from the CCU service, mm-hmm. but yeah, we want to mix it up and have more meditations from you with some music. With Shannon, some more of Shannon's music, and maybe some of my music in the background as well. So be on the lookout. We've got so many amazing things planned for year 2, and we're here already, week 3 of year 2. We've got new sponsors on board. We've got Unity of Nashville. We've got Natural Awakenings, and we're so excited. Of course, in Christchurch Unity Orlando, who has been a faithful supporter of the podcast from day one. So a huge thank you to those the sponsors that make it possible, but even more than that, if I may be so bold to say, to our patrons.
Oh yeah,
even the ones who give just $2. $2
amazing.
A month to help bring this show together. Even it's hosting and all of that stuff and the production, it does cost money. And even today, you can't see it, listener, and you can't see it on the video, but we have a camera crew in here.
Yeah, exactly.
Who's recording some video work. And so we want to sow into other people's ministry and other people's life and what they're passionate about. And so if you're listening right now wondering, how can I support this? Well, we have our patrons, and we talk about it at the end of every single show, but I do want to mention it here on the front end.
Yeah.
Is patrons and becoming a patron, even just starting at $2 a month, can absolutely go a long way. But even if you don't, maybe the idea of a monthly thing feels overwhelming, or whatever, for whatever reason, you can make a one-time donation. Just go to experienceofthesoul.com, click on support, and all of the ways that you can support and help bring the show to countries like Korea and Lithuania and China.
Yes.
And Poland and Russian Federation and New Zealand and Nigeria.
Yes, we really want to be able to use these dollars that are coming in. We're not getting rich off this show. What we're doing is using the money and putting it right back into production and advertising, and we feel strongly about that. I do. It's a little bit of an outreach of my CCU ministry. It's just a way to reach more people. Podcasts are what's happening now, and I feel really excited about the reach we're having.
Yeah, everything goes right back, whether it's lights. You don't see the lights, but whether it's lights, whether it's new microphones, whether it's camera, whether it's tripods, everything gets funneled right back into the show so that we can increase the quality of the show and just reach more folks. So thank you so much.
And also the YouTube videos, when you go to Cynthia Alice Anderson on YouTube, I realize I have over 7,000 views total right now, and that gives me a lot of hope, and it makes me so happy actually that many things have been, or that many views are there already. I had no idea it was that high. So I do thank you. And we do that because a lot of people have said, I like to just put it on when I'm at my computer at work or when I'm doing something at home. I like to see the video. And when we started that, it was just kind of like...
it was just almost an afterthought. Yeah,
it
just
was.
an after. And I look at some of those early ones now. The IKEA, bamboo trees in the background.
Oh, well, that's all right. That's all right.
It's a learning process.
Well, when I learned that somebody has like 9 million views and all they do is eat on Facebook, I'm thinking we can up the views a little bit more.
Or talk about Marvel movies or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think I need to give a title like Spirituality and Marvel or something and see what happens. Oh! That could be a divine idea.
Even if it's not what it's about, we'll put that in the title.
Let's put it so it'll be searchable.
Clickbait.
Clickbait.
I'll tell you what's not clickbait. This amazing series we've been on for the last 7 weeks, and we're coming in for a landing today.
Yep.
Probably at the one that I know that I'm gonna. It's gonna be the bumpiest for me. Vulnerability. That's one thing already, but today
is
getting into not opportunities.
No, you
to be
feel
vulnerable.
comfortable in the unknown. You feel comfortable in the unknown. That's right. So I'm going to read all 7 just to, again, remind you of these, but then we're going to get right into number 7. 7 signs of an evolving soul. Number 1, you love yourself. Number 2, your heart is open and loving. Number 3, you are aware you are one with all. 4, I'm going to change the wording slightly on number 4. Your life has meaning and purpose. Number 5, you identify with the soul, not the body. Number 6, you seek opportunities to be vulnerable. And finally, number 7, you feel comfortable in the unknown.
That's the one. That's the one when week 1, when you read these out loud, that's the one that I went...
It put the fear of God in you?
No, it's just, and it manifests itself in so many weird ways for me. And some of it is tied to the vulnerability thing. One of my things that I shared last week was I don't like feeling like I don't know the answers, right? Being the smartest one in the room and people depending on me. And so the unknown, even things like not wanting to eat somewhere new, like go out to eat to a new restaurant because I don't know it. Isn't that weird?
Yeah. No, it's not weird at all. It's part of what makes us human.
Yeah. I'm just like, I don't want to go there. I don't want to go to Tampa. Part of why we've not gone to Clearwater and explored Florida is, I think, because I don't know, and
don't know where to go.
I hate feeling lost, and it makes me tired, and to think about it, and so it's like And this is something that me and Shannon have talked about, you know.
Yeah.
But the fear of the unknown, and it's not like this fear.
No, I understand.
It's just it's enough of a fear to become a block, and then I push back against it, and then it doesn't happen. So that's I knew from the get go this would be the one that I'd have to lay down on the couch for.
Right. Well, I've been working with this one for a really long time, and all 7 of these. And again, I've worked with them with so many people that I've supported in ministry over the years. The first place I really heard of this idea of the unknown, one of my professors at ministerial school, then it was called Unity School for Religious Studies. His name's Robert Brummett, and he's written several books, and I have to say he was my favorite teacher. He knows it. He wrote a book called, and we will have this in the show notes, it's called Finding Yourself in Transition. Finding Yourself in Transition, and if you search him, you'll probably find several, he has 2 or 3 books out now, but Finding Yourself in Transition, and there's basically 3 stages. There's the ending, the void, and then the beginning. And all of us have lived this cycle, you know, the ending, the void, and beginning. So if you've had a relationship end, if you've had a job end, if you've had even a way of life end because of an income change. So you don't know what's coming next, and the next hasn't really started. So that space in between what you knew and, you know, what you did know and were comfortable in, Dave, as you described, and what is yet unknown to you, you know, what in the future, which is unknown, leaves you in this kind of weird place called the unknown,
Which is crazy because I like knowing things.
Everybody does.
And so the only way to know things is to not know things and then experience the things you don't know so that then you can know it. And then people can ask me, the person who likes to know it all, if I do in fact know it.
Did anybody keep up with that?
But yeah, I mean,
this is how the mind operates. So I'm so glad you said it like that. This is all, and this is not a negative on you. This is how the ego always tries to figure things out. It's like, well, what about this? And what about that? And what about this? And what about that? We all do it. It's our own human neuroses of wanting to know what's next. That is all based in the ego. When we are in spirit, even if those thoughts come, so we can release them. Because even if you are a spiritual, people consider you a spiritual master, what you're describing is part of the human experience, and we all have the thoughts come in. You know, it's not like so often now people, they say, oh, you know, I want to be like these Buddhist monks who just sit around and meditate and never have problems. I'm like, oh, well, they have problems. Why do you think they're meditating so much?
That's right.
you know that this idea of being comfortable in the unknown is a huge spiritual mastery step. And sometimes I do it well, sometimes I don't. And I would say that probably for all of us in this room, including our videographer who's here, we're all in this journey together.
I tell you where it really manifested itself was one of our first years that we were teaching overseas in Europe. You know, we've talked about teaching in Germany.
Yeah.
And so we did a music festival right after that in Budapest. Right?
Right.
And so unknown, I'm like, okay, it's travel, it's cool, you know, all good. I can get into it because we're you know, backpacking around Europe or, you know, whatever. But the person we were with, who was our boss, is definitely in authors, they call them pantsers, right? If you're an author, like a writer, you have people that are planners and people that are pantsers, as in fly by the seat of their pants.
Pantsers?
Pantsers.
That's a name?
That's an actual name. Planners and like Stephen King is a pantser. He just kind of starts writing and then he just kind of fills it in. Whereas if you have like George R.R. Martin, Game of Thrones and all that, he is a planner. He plots out everything. This has to do with the Budapest trip, I promise. So I'm a planner and he was a pantser. And so we land in Budapest, Hungary, right? And we've got like our suitcases. I have a DJ rig that I'm trotting around Budapest. And we're like, okay, where do we go from here? He goes, I don't know. I think we need to find the train station. And me and Shannon were like, so we don't have train tickets? No, we'll work it out. Do we know where we're staying? I think it's a hostel.
Oh,
do you
I can feel the anxiety level right now.
Do you know the address? How are we going to get from the airport to the train station? I think they have a shuttle. Wait, we're 3,000. You think they have a shuttle? And so,
wow, yeah.
Yes, that was it. That was one of the fiercest experiences I had with riding shotgun with someone who was totally okay with the unknown and winging it because they're just free spirit and pantsing it. But no, not me. I'm a planner.
Yes,
Yep.
yes. I tend to be a big planner too. I love making my list. Right now I've got 3 pages of lists for different things that are going on in my life. But this idea of being comfortable in the unknown, what I want to say about it is that it's okay to make fun of it, to have fun with it, because it is such a high spiritual teaching. And it is a transformative place to be.
And everything worked out great.
Exactly.
I will never, ever forget that trip.
Yep.
And, I learned that you just got to let go sometimes. You cannot prescribe every single moment. And sometimes showing up in hungry and figuring it out is kind of the point.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, that's where the growth comes. So if we're in the unknown, it means we've had a break with the ego. That's really, really good. I'm going to say that again. If we're in the unknown, we've had a break with the ego in some way, because the ego is always looking to control. And when you're in the unknown, your ego has surrendered and said, you know what? I get it. I can't even control. Now, it'll probably try to come back in and get mad and blame somebody or do this and do that. But again, the surrender comes again because you go, no matter what I do, I'm here. And so I can't say enough about how, if you are in the unknown, wow, you want to give thanks for that, because it is ripe with spiritual growth. It's like you are about to take off. You are about to take off. And 2 scriptures have really come to me about this one. And one is when Jonah was in the whale. Well, not really a whale, big fish, the scriptures say. And what we know before Jonah was eaten by the big fish is that he really received a call to do something and refused to do it. And in other words, he headed the opposite way, actually. He didn't just say, yeah, God, I'm kind of busy. He was like, I'm running the other way. Well, then there was this thing where Jonah was swallowed by the whale, and we're told, he was in the belly for 3 days. I remember as a kid, I used to think, how could he be there for 3 days? Did he build a fire and stuff in there? How does
in my mind, it was always like Pinocchio. Like there's a little cottage in there.
Yeah,
and,
right, exactly.
A toy maker.
I was like, this little fire is kind of lit up, and he could see the ribs and everything. But
play xylophone.
Yeah, play xylophone on the ribs of the fish. But what we know after that was that a great transformation happened when Jesus went into the tomb for 3 days. Now, nobody knows what happened in there, right? I mean, there are a lot of scholars that, this is not about the Shroud of Turin, just so you know. There are a lot of scholars that pontificate about what might have happened in the tomb between Jesus' death and resurrection, but nobody knows. But what I know is that it was a time of the unknown.
Yep.
For everyone.
And what I like about the Jonah story is, he basically got vomited on the beach, right?
Yeah.
And he didn't just okay, fish, peace out. No, he's like, and he's covered in junk, and he's completely disgusting, and almost like a rebirth.
Yeah.
Babies come out, they're pretty gross, right? So
yeah,
I know they're cute in life, but ew.
Yeah.
So
exactly
that process had to happen.
Yeah, the process had to happen. So that's what I'm saying. If you find yourself in the unknown, even though it's hard, bless it. Our head of our pastoral care at the church, Dorothy Moore, says it this way: bless it, bless it, bless it. Especially when you don't know what's going on or you don't know how to deal with it. Bless it, because as you bless it, then you are you are nurturing then the process in yourself rather than resisting it. When we move into the unknown, the logical thing to do is resist it because we don't know what's happening. And like we're saying, the ego wants to know. And the mind, which of course is very aligned egoically, the mind is always trying to figure things out. It's planning, thinking, judging. That's what the mind does. The mind is judging and thinking. Even right now what I'm saying is saying, did you say that fast? Did they understand the last word? Judging. Is that hard to say? Can they take it in? This is what the mind does all the time. But the fact is, all that's just mental noise. That's all ego stuff. So if you are moving in and you are in the unknown, the ego has to surrender so that the new can come forward for you. You're going to find yourself saying things like, if you're in the unknown, I've never done this before. Right. Mm-hmm. Bless that. If you find yourself saying, I don't know what to do, I've never done this before, good. That means growth is happening.
Right. That's right. And, as a musician, if you don't get a little butterfly, before a performance.
Absolutely.
That means you probably it's probably too safe for you.
You're going to screw up.
You're not taking Well, more like if you don't get, not that, you get stage fright or whatever, but every time you go on stage, if there's not that little, that little butterfly in your stomach, then that means that you're not pushing yourself. You're not doing something growing. To grow. You're just staying in where it's nice and safe and comfortable and known.
Yes.
And
I want to talk about the more when we come back. If you don't mind, I'm going to riff off that. So Again, thank you, friends, for joining us. We'll be back in just a few moments.
We'll return to the program in just a few minutes, but first, we wanted to give a special word of thanks to our podcast partner, CCU Orlando, who has helped make this episode of the Authentic Spiritual Journey possible. CCU Orlando is a welcoming community dedicated to transforming lives, celebrating diversity, and supporting soul growth. CCU Orlando is located at 771 Holden Avenue in Orlando, Florida, with Sunday services at 9 and 11 a.m. You can stream services live online as well as learn more at christchurchunity.net. We'd also like to thank Natural Awakenings Magazine of Central Florida, Greater Orlando. Each month, Natural Awakenings magazines across the country take a practical look at the latest natural approaches to nutrition, fitness, creative expression, personal growth, and sustainable living. Natural Awakenings magazine is a free publication and is available in selected stores, health and education centers, healing centers, public libraries, and wherever free publications are located. You could learn more, including advertising opportunities for your business, by calling 407-628-0705. And finally, we'd like to extend our special thanks to Unity of Nashville, a sister ministry of CCU Orlando. If you're searching for a like-minded church community and a personal connection that supports your heart and mind in the Central Tennessee area, then join Unity of Nashville at 10 a.m. every Sunday morning at 5125 Franklin Pike. For more information, head over to unityofnashville.org. And now we return you to this week's episode of The Authentic Spiritual Journey with your host, Reverend Cynthia Alice Anderson.
Welcome back. Again, we are glad you're with us on this important topic. 7 signs of an evolving soul. Number 7, you feel comfortable in the unknown. Maybe.
Yeah.
So right before the break, Dave was talking about his playing and his musical career.
Yeah.
And I've talked a little bit about my former career as a musician, but I wanted to share with you a little bit about why I left. And it is definitely a teaching moment for me personally. I hope will be for you as well. When I left my music career, it was because I wasn't having that feeling that Dave described.
The butterflies before a performance.
Yeah, it got too rote. Like it was like, okay, I've played with these people. It was almost, this is really not a great way to describe it. I almost got bored, even though I wasn't bored. It just was not, I just knew it was not what I was supposed to be doing because I didn't have that like energetic connection. Like
it was devoid of passion. You were just kind of going through the motions because you had spent so long getting to that point.
Yes. And I thought, I was either going to be an orchestra conductor or because I was already conducting a youth orchestra, I was assistant conductor with this, like a community orchestra as well. And I was playing so much and I was teaching and it was like, I really had a great gig, but it was like, I just, was not feeling that, and so when I decided to leave that career, I remember, I felt like I was kind of stepping off the cliff, like the leap of faith in the Indiana Jones movie, that I really did not know where I was stepping. But that step into the unknown was a really empowering step because of the energy I felt suddenly in my life again.
And Shannon just recently went through that
yes,
a couple of months ago.
Yes, she did.
Leaving a very comfortable job that she had had for 5 years. And, teaching, which
Yeah.
she had done for a very long time in
Yep.
higher education. And so,
Yeah.
she's exactly the same way. And it was the thing that she was quote unquote supposed to be doing. And nobody told her you were supposed to be doing this other than herself, and her
Sure.
own expectations for herself.
Well, again, this is what society expects, like you're supposed to make good money, you're supposed to, do these things. And a lot of these are societal expectations that are often even unspoken. We just get it through.
Oh, I have no doubt that she hung around a year longer than she probably wanted to because of my fear of the unknown. Because I do the bills and all that kind of stuff, and
Right.
and I'm sure she didn't want to freak me completely out.
Sure.
She had to kind of slow walk me around to the idea. But
Come on around, Dave. Come on around.
Even before she got brought on full time at CCU, she made the choice first. I'm doing this, and then the full. So. We had to walk out in faith in that. And she is eternally happier.
Oh, yes, that's obvious.
No,
yes.
her 401k isn't getting fed. No, but we have to believe that this is what the universe and what God wants. And so, I'll keep coming back to this. God did not lead us into the wilderness to starve.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And what you're speaking of, without saying the word, is trust.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
When we are in the unknown, what we're being asked by Spirit to do is to trust. And, in my own personal process, I've learned to ask for a little help and signs along the way as I'm trusting. I'll say, as a matter of fact, I said it earlier today. Earlier today, me and God had a moment. And I often have these conversations. I say, look here, God, I need some help on this deal. It's not a prayer. It's not a plea. It's just a conversation, and sometimes it's like, you know what, God, I have trusted you right now with every aspect of my life. I need you to show up. And then, within a few minutes, something came forward for me in the form of it was so funny, a mistake call from a healer that I work with.
Oh, wow.
It was, and then the text came through.
Like a misdial.
Yeah, you know how sometimes you go to do a text and maybe you call instead of text? And it was like, okay, I know exactly what that means. And so some work that I had just done with her then in this, my quest for like a connection from Spirit, of course, God was right there. It was me that was in my head, my ego stuff. God didn't go anywhere I had. But as this call came through and I said, what is that? Well, then it went away. And I said, oh, that was an accident. Then the text came through. But then it was some of the work, one of the visualizations that I often do right now is to imagine stepping into the light, like making a conscious choice to move from whatever darkness or fear or doubt I may be in, to consciously visualize stepping forward into light. And then I imagine this white light, like this waterfall of white light, just cleansing everything. And literally I was driving and that happened. And that felt so comforting from the universe. And I said, thank you, God, I got it. It was like, oh, yeah, it was like, whew. God heard me. Boom, text. And it was like, it was all I needed was just a little something from the outside to kind of bring me back into awareness. So it brought me back into this tremendous feeling of safety and trust. And again, it was from the inside out. So when I say you feel comfortable in the unknown, everything outside of you is unknown. The internal soul is what begins to guide you. That's how the comfort comes, is that you're able to trust, on a deeper level, the signs, the signals, the process, where you find yourself. At the beginning, I mentioned the book, Finding Yourself in Transition by Reverend Robert Brummett. And again, I mentioned the book starts out ending, void, and then beginning. And when you're in the unknown, obviously you're in the void. Well, if you're in the void, remember something new's coming. Years ago, I heard a preacher in the South happened to be African American, and it was Good Friday. He said, "Don't forget, Sunday's coming." On Good Friday, don't forget, Sunday's coming. And so when we're in the unknown, it's like our Easter awaits. And for us in Unity, we teach, Easter's not necessarily about just Jesus raising from the dead. It's about our own internal resurrection. And so if we find ourselves in the unknown, we are in the process, even though it doesn't look like it, we are in the process of our own personal resurrection. We're not where we were. We're not where we're going to be, but we're heading that direction. So there's a lot of faith and a lot of trust that goes into this process. I feel comfortable in the unknown means I'm trusting Spirit even though I don't know what's next. Yeah, I'm trusting Spirit even though I don't know what's next. The scripture, too, is probably the most famous scripture I know on faith, Hebrews 11:1. Now, faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the evidence of things unseen. If you're in the unknown, you don't see what's next, and so really holding on to that promise that God loves us, that the universe is always supporting us is the thing that gets me through. And friends, I want to tell you, I teach this stuff and I still have moments. Hear me. It is part of the human experience to say, where is God right now? I'm doing everything I think I'm supposed to be doing. I'm working on myself. I'm doing my daily work in spirit. I'm breathing. I'm meditating. I'm maybe doing therapeutic work even. I'm, seeking to live a better life. I'm seeking to give my gifts as a gift to the world. Why is this not happening the way I want? Why? Because you're growing and evolving. You don't get to choose every point of that. So just know as you're growing and evolving through that this is exactly what's supposed to be happening. Your ego doesn't really get a vote.
Right.
I hate when that happens, but your ego doesn't really get a vote.
Yeah, and I find that it's fulfilling, because as someone, a self-proclaimed person who wants to know it all, why, I want to know. I want to, why wouldn't I want?
Oh, of course.
Why wouldn't I want the edges of my spiritual map to broaden? Why wouldn't I want those gray areas colored in?
Yeah.
But you have to go into the gray in order. You have to go past the edges of the map that you already know, that you're comfortable with, to get there. And then what you end up with is a much bigger map. You end up with so much more.
Yes, exactly. And I have had people over the years, ask me, one in particular, somebody I really admire who just does great spiritual work. And he said to me one day, could you just give me a map? And it was from the sweetest, most naive place. And I said, if I could do that, I'd be a millionaire overnight. There's no map. But what I am giving you is signs along the way.
Right.
And that's what these 7 signs are. These 7 signs of evolving, that as you begin to work in these areas, they're like little guideposts that you're heading the right direction on the journey. So again, especially dealing with number 7, which is the deepest one really we've done so far, you feel comfortable in the unknown. It is okay to ask for help from others. You might have a trusted friend, advisor, helper, minister, therapist, that can help give you perspective. And I would also, at the same time I'm saying that, I would say be very, very careful in who you share with in this important time in your life, because it's such a sacred time. The ego wants to flip out and tell everybody how bad it is and how they don't know what's happening and what the hell. These are the thoughts that come through when we're in the unknown. It's like we go into panic mode.
Right.
And I think kind of countrywide, even worldwide, we're seeing a lot of that. There's so many quick reactions now that we're not able to hold our fear. We're not able to hold whatever might be happening. And so there are these quick, knee-jerk reactions. And being comfortable in the unknown is holding all of that and then seeing what is ours to do next from there.
And that was me in Budapest.
Yeah.
As I flipped out.
Yeah.
But I can't just go back onto the plane. They're not going to let me just sit there until it works itself out.
Yeah.
There's the only way forward is through.
Yes.
And that means,
Yes.
okay, finding a way to the train station, buying train tickets, getting to where we need to be.
Mm-hmm.
believing that everything was going to work out because, God's got us, and so that was a really transformative experience for me. And even though those lessons, even though I learned the lessons on that trip, I'm still not perfect about it. I'm an evolving soul. It's not
Exactly.
This isn't a one and done, and I get to go, yep, man, we're done. Next.
Yeah, right. I've got this.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. And as a matter of fact, you really know you're doing it. Okay, so let me back up. I had about 3 thoughts at once. So when we do get to move forward, and like you said, Dave, there you got the lesson. What we often do when we come back to a lesson is we say, why am I doing this again? Did I do it wrong? Or anyway, that's what I think. And then if we do it right, if we do it wrong, what celestial rule did I break, that it's not working out? When in fact, with this one especially, hear me on this is so important. When we find ourselves in the unknown, rather than doing it wrong, we want to say, what did I do right? The Spirit knows I'm ready for this lesson. This is an evolving moment. Being in the unknown is a huge evolutionary step into your new beginning.
And it doesn't mean that you have to learn the lesson again. Maybe you just have to learn a different facet of that same lesson.
Yes. I mentioned, I can't remember if it was in a message recently, that there was something I was working with. I had to deal with it with a therapist. I had to deal with it with a doctor. I've had to deal with it in intimate relationship. It's like, and it's all my lesson. It's all my lesson, and it's a hard lesson. But you know what? I see it now, and I see the pattern in me now, and I've got stuff to heal. So, but now that I see it, there's a chance I can heal it. If I'm unconscious and I'm not seeing it, then I will never heal it. So being comfortable in the unknown is simply about, walking through. And there's a huge aspect too of facing your fear. You've probably heard me say, there's times spiritually we need to move out of our comfort zone to evolve. And that's exactly what being in the unknown is. It means we've left what we know, but we don't know yet, what's coming for us. I remember years ago, I was doing some work in Brazil. There was a missionary there, and I was pretty young. I was about 15, and I had learned some Portuguese. That I learned was, you said Portuguese. And he was a pilot who would take in supplies. I probably wouldn't do the same exact work now because my theology has shifted, but it was a wonderful, transformative, and life-changing, really, experience to go do that because I learned, like I say, enough of a language to communicate, to kind of give my testimony, as we called it then, in that language. And then what we would do is we'd go into the town and literally just knock on doors and invite people to a concert. And so we learned how to ask that in Portuguese. And anyway, the street I was given, I remember when we were kind of sent off in pairs. Well, for some reason, I got off by myself. I mean, this is like I'm in a foreign country.
And you're 15.
I'm 15 years old. And there were people nearby. Like if I would have said, hey, somebody would have been nearby. But for whatever reason, I was on this street by myself. And I remember looking down the street, I in my mind's eye right now, I can see the street as if it's right here, right now. It was a dirt road. There was raw sewage running down the road. There were, kids kind of half naked running all around it. I mean, this is in the interior. This is not, in the big, beautiful cities like Rio and places like that. This is in the interior. And I'm going to knock on doors, inviting people to this concert. And before I walked down it, I remember saying, okay. I looked behind me and I thought, I've spent money, time, energy. People have supported me to come do this. I cannot walk away, but I wanted to. So I ended up, I looked behind. I said, I can't go back. And I looked forward. I said, gee, that's scary. But you know what? Obviously, it worked out.
Right.
I went and knocked on doors, and it was really funny. One of the doors somebody came, I realized later was a brothel.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And they said, you went there? We didn't want you to go on that street, And I said, well, God had me and crazy things. Somebody showed up, for church. So at the time it looked like a very huge challenge because it was so unknown and it seemed scary and it seemed, risky, but in fact, I was totally safe and I got through it. And so there was this real feeling of like grown upness after that. Like I felt like I came back from that trip. Well, and by the way, there was no phones, there was no cell phones then. We
Right. No
communicated.
GPS. No.
Yeah, we communicated once over a 10-day period with ham radio. Was the only way we could call Georgia. It was with a ham radio. And so I felt like I grew up between the time I left and the time I got back home. I remember getting home and a friend of mine who went on the trip too, he came over one day, he goes, "Shouldn't we be doing something?" He said, "This sitting around, he goes, "I don't relate to anybody our age anymore." I said, "I don't either." It was like we had just grown so much from that one experience that we were ready to give more. So I tell you, everybody, that I feel like this is just us in the studio having this conversation, not like thousands of people, but that when we are willing to take that risk to move into the unknown, the universe is there. The universe is there to support us. So I really encourage you, especially if you're in the unknown right now, to keep the faith, and remember, one of the most important lessons I've learned is we don't necessarily have to do it alone. Sometimes it is our step to go through it alone, but often we just need to trust the special people in our lives that are there to support us, that are there to lift us up, that what we need is being provided, and that the new will come forward for you. I myself am in the unknown and a time of transition in my life, but I'm really trusting and I'm really feeling the support of the universe. So I want that and hope that for you as well. And we really hope this encourages you on the journey.
Yeah, and I'm doing better and working on doing better and not letting my uncomfortableness of the unknown affect the things that Shannon wants to do, and that's why we went to Clearwater or we went to St. Pete for our anniversary. And
yeah, and I was going to say that there are a couple areas if you find yourself really kind of stymied and not moving forward, that to take some calculated risks that you can feel comfortable with really helps when these larger spiritual lessons come forward. I've worked with youngsters, teens, preteen age kids as well, who've struggled with anxiety, and some of the work with the parents, is like, okay, help them make risks that they're okay making so that they can feel confident, so that when bigger risks come, they know they can handle it.
That's right.
And so I would encourage you in that if there's something you're really wanting to try and you don't quite have the courage, again, get the support from a friend or a loved one to maybe make that risk, so that the larger ones you're ready for, and then you can feel comfortable in the unknown. And a reminder, don't do it alone.
That's right.
Don't do it alone. There's a lot of help and support. And at CCU Orlando, which is our primary sponsor on the show, boy, there's so much support. There's spiritual counseling. There is one-on-one prayer with our prayer chaplains. There's a prayer list if you want to put your name down. We pray for you. And we also encourage you to call Silent Unity. Silent Unity's phone number is 1-800 Now Pray.
I'm gonna put that in the
Sure,
show
we'll
notes.
put that in the show notes as well. 1-800 Now Pray. That's a 24-hour prayer ministry that is provided by Unity at no charge from our world headquarters. So in closing, I'm going to read the 7 signs. It's our final show. So I'm going to take a breath between each one so that we're all, again, planting these in our consciousness to see them grow, develop, and blossom. 7 signs of an evolving soul. Sign number 1, you love yourself. Sign number 2, your heart is open and loving. Sign number 3, you are aware you are one with all. Sign number 4, your life has meaning and purpose. Sign number 5, you identify with the soul and not the body. Sign number 6, you seek opportunities to be vulnerable. Sign number 7, you feel comfortable in the unknown. So we thank you for joining us for these 7 weeks, and especially I'm glad, grateful, hopeful that you are practicing these principles, and that we continue to remember that the work we do is in evolution. We're not doing these perfectly, but we are on the journey together, friends. We are here for you, and we bless you as you live the authentic spiritual journey. So bless you, and thank you for joining us.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Authentic Spiritual Journey presented by CCU Orlando, Natural Awakenings Magazine, and Unity of Nashville. The Experience of the Soul podcast channel is also made possible through the continued support of our angel patrons Dove Borland, Peter Gibson, Paul Caswell, JJ Hamilton, Arlene Meyer, Kathy and Terry, Marcia Mott, and Nora Miles. If you would like to support the channel as a patron on an ongoing basis or through a one-time gift, head over to experienceofthesoul.com/support. And if you enjoy this podcast, help spread the word by sharing it with your friends and leaving a 5-star review on Apple Podcast, Google Play, Stitcher, or the platform of your choice. The Authentic Spiritual Journey is copyright 2019 Cynthia Alice Anderson, all rights reserved. Our theme music is composed by Dave Croft and used with permission. The Experience of the Soul podcast channel is a production of 818 Studios.